Hello, and welcome to the show. My name is Claire Lee, and I'll be your host for this episode. This week, I'll be remote sitting down with a few members of the iGEM team and Miss Standevan to get a peek of what it's been like working as a team with little distance over the summer. We'll also talk a little bit about their project for this year. So get ready, because this is Lambert in Real Time. Hello, Relongers. My name is Claire Lee, and I'll be your host for this podcast. Welcome back! On today's episode, I am joined with our school's leading figure in biotechnology, Lambert iGEM. So please welcome Ms. Standevan, Shri Panama Reddy, and Aryan Gupta.
Thank you.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast. How are you guys doing today?
Pretty good.
Doing all right?
Hanging in there.
Glad to hear that you guys are doing well. So to start this episode, could you guys introduce yourselves? Tell us a little bit more about who you are, what your role is, and anything that you like to do.
So my name is Shri, and I'm one of the co-captains of Lambert iGEM. And so during the team, I primarily work with human practices, which is kind of trying to figure out how our project impacts the world and how the world should guide our project, basically.
Hey, I'm Aryan. I'm one of the hardware software guys on the iGEM team. So we kind of work with how we take some of the wet lab and some of the interesting synthetic biology we're doing and how we can make that more usable, make that more feasible, but also like make sure that everything, it like works in like an integrated full project.
And I'm Janet Standevan, and I'm the advisor for iGEM, but I also teach biotechnology.
So for those who have only heard of iGEM or don't know what it is, Ms. Standevan, could you explain a little bit more about what you guys do, what iGEM is, and your role in iGEM?
Sure. So iGEM stands for the International Genetically Engineered Machine, and it's a competition that is primarily a collegiate competition, but they allow high schools to compete. And basically what we do every year is we set up a biotech company and think about all the different parts that you have for a biotech company. You need to have people who do the research and development and what we call the wet lab, which is actually the genetic engineering. You need to have a marketing team. You need to have people who are going to do the software engineering and the hardware engineering. And so my role as an advisor is sort of help oversee. I teach students different techniques, but then I mainly am sort of the avenue and the person that helps keep them together and working towards a common goal. So sometimes I'm the mean one in the corner that's yelling at them to get back to work. And then sometimes I'm the coach cheering them on.
Every team needs a great coach, and I'm sure Ms. Standevan, you are an amazing teacher to all of your students. And alongside you, you have your co-captains. So Shri, you're one of the co-captains for Lambert iGEM, and you're also part of the Human Practices Committee. So what does your role entail as a captain, and why is human practices so important to iGEM?
As co-captain, we have amazing team members, and they're all really passionate about their work. So they always stay on task and always take initiative, and they're great. But it's mainly making sure that all the committees have good communication between each other and that everyone as a team is working towards together. And also making sure that, for the actual competition, we are meeting the requirements for the medaling, as well as we're staying on track to be prepared for our Jamboree, which is our competition. A little bit about human practices. So human practices is kind of like the public relations side of a biotechnology company. And the reason why human practice is really important is that in order to have good science, you often have to understand, what exactly is the impact of, all the synthetic biology, the hardware, software, and how can we actually implement it into the world seamlessly so we can have the maximum impact on the people that we're trying to address our problem to or address the solution to. And similarly like that, having those conversations with people that, the issue actually impacts is really important in guiding how we should direct our project. And so that it could be really integrated with the world and really address the issue holistically.
Human practices must be a really vital part of Lambert iGEM, making sure everything that you're doing has a purpose. Another committee that I want to mention is the hardware and software, which Aryan, you're a part of. So what is it like being part of the physical and technical part of the project and bringing these things to reality?
The hardware software committee, basically, if you look at iGEM as kind of a company, like Ms. Standevan said, and you take our wet lab as the main product, the hardware software attributions are kind of like the accessories that come in the box. You can't really use your wet lab without all the hardware and software that we kind of design around. software does whole lot of things on making apps and different types of software to kind of model and make all of our hardware more controllable. And hardware kind of creates kind of the devices and tools that you would really use in the real world to along with the kind of the projects that we use. So it's kind of hardware and software kind of connects everything together in a way that anyone can really go out there and use.
It seems though that you guys have built an incredible team to work on your project this year. Every year, Lambert iGEM works on a new project in relation to global issues or attempts to develop something new. So what is your project for this year and what problems are you trying to tackle?
So this year we're focusing on aquaponics systems. Specifically, we want to see how we can use aquaponics system, which is this kind of alternative form of agriculture, to address food desert and food insecurity issues. So across the country itself, Atlanta is the third largest food desert, which is actually quite surprising to us. So one of the main things that we're trying to do is that we're trying to make aquaponic systems more sustainable and a little bit inexpensive by creating these nutrient biosensors for phosphate and nitrate. And so using those biosensors, we hope that we can, reduce the cost of trying to get your system's nutrients taken, mechanically, or trying to send them off to a lab or some other alternative measure to measure those nutrients. And the cool thing about aquaponics is that you're integrating two ecosystems. So it's kind of that the plants give the fish something and the fish give the plants something. And so overall, in the long term, it should reduce costs and be beneficial for the environment.
Your project sounds absolutely fascinating, and I'm excited to learn a little bit more during the second part of the podcast. We're going to take a little break, and we're going to be right back. Hey, welcome to the break part of the podcast. I'm here to quickly tell you about our Instagram at LHS Realtime. We post all of our guests on there and have updates on the next episodes. Also, if you have an idea, you can fill out the form, which is linked in our bio, to suggest a topic to talk about on our show. Feel free to check it out. And let's go back to the show. Welcome back to the show. We're going to get a little bit more in depth about what iGEM has gone through over the summer and what they're going to expect throughout the school year. So as you know, the world and Lambert are overcoming new obstacles that we never had to go through before. Social distancing measures are being put in place in our schools, limiting our interactions with others. iGEM, like many other clubs and sports, rely on close group work. So, Ms. Devin, has iGEM put in place any new rules or regulations to limit transmissions?
Wow. Well, basically, we haven't been in person since March 13th. Luckily, we had identified our project early on in the season. And so when we were put on stay-at-home orders, the students took ownership of different parts of the research process and different parts of the engineering process and have been working at home. What that means, though, is we haven't been doing any of what's called the wet lab, any of the growing of the cells or the transforming and the actual molecular biology that we do. But the students have spent, I can't even tell you, countless hours working on research and preparing for when we do come back to the lab, the protocols, the DNA sequences that we need to order, as well as working on our side projects in our hardware. And one of them is OpenCellX or OpenCell Pro. But basically that is a device, a 3D printable device that we hope is a frugal device that we can share with low resource labs that they'd be able to use to extract DNA in a low cost way.
Putting all these things together and having your team work in a synchronized way must be really difficult. Shri, being a team captain takes on a responsibility of keeping your team in sync and organized. How has it been so far getting your team adapted into this new working environment?
This year's team is amazing, and every individual has really stepped up to the challenge. I think one of the main things that is coming up and throughout the summer is trying to just keep up with each other and maintain communication. And I think that we've been able to have twice a month meetings virtually with everyone in the call, and we just go around the room and ask, like, what are you guys doing? What do you guys need help with? And so maintaining that communication was definitely a struggle because it's different than, seeing everyone in a room every single day and just all the banter and everything and just being in front of the classroom and talking to people. But I think we've definitely been resilient during this time, and through just keeping each other updated has been our main way of maintaining social distancing while also going full-fledged onto our project.
One thing I'm wondering is how it's been working physically with your team. With social distancing, building a project is not easy. And especially building a aquaponics system is not easy. It's not a small project. So I was wondering, Aryan, how has it been so far working with software and hardware building this project?
So when you like first think about kind of hardware devices, you're kind of thinking about like physical things that you really need to be in person to work on. And that's sort of what what we did for the past 2 years, is that we're all kind of working in the lab. We're kind of doing all of these testing as we're getting parts ready. A lot of that really just makes it fast and easy that, oh, this part isn't working. What we actually can do really easily is just quickly design or fix whatever we need to do in design, get it 3D printed, and by the time we're back during our class, we're all ready to get started up again. Over the past few months, though, that workflow has really changed. Especially, biggest limitation is obviously that not all of us kind of has access to all of the equipment in the lab. One thing that I'm really proud of our team is how we've been tackling everything that we can possibly tackle at home, and really just not slowing down. It's been a lot easier for us because as we finish up different parts of the project, we're using things like Google Drive and obviously Zoom to kind of coordinate what we're doing and share kind of all the different progress we've made. A lot of the kind of design work that we're doing is through CAD or computer-assisted design. And what this means is that we can really go and take the hydroponics loop that Miss Denman actually has in her basement, just using different reference pictures and different measurements that we asked her to take. And using kind of that virtual environment, we can take all the different sensors we collected, take all the different parts we need, and kind of create our system virtually, test our system virtually, and get like parts fitted virtually. So when the time comes that we can actually go and put everything together in person, it'll be a very kind of a seamless project.
We hope.
Fingers crossed. It usually never works out that way, but we're hoping.
I should jump in and say that I'm afraid some of the neighbors in the neighborhoods, because I'm the delivery. So sometimes I have a piece of equipment or they need supplies for my lab. So I basically come to the school, pick it up, sanitize it, then I drive it to their house, leave it on their front porch, text them, I just left this $5,000 piece of equipment on your front porch. And I'm pretty sure that some of the neighbors of the students that I visit on a regular basis think something nefarious is going on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what you might not really be able to see with the way I've cropped my webcam is kind of I'd say maybe like $10,000 of equipment that's just strewn all about and going. Is even with the kind of the workshop I have downstairs with the 3D printers that I stole from school, as well as the 3D printer I have.
He did not steal. He's going to give them back.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that these machines cost a lot, and these are a direct reflection of how much you guys care and put effort into your projects. One way that you guys get to show off how much you've worked and your final product, you are able to go to this thing called a giant jamboree every single year in Boston and be a part of this iGEM convention where you guys display your project and present it to get scored and placed. With social distancing and limited travel within the foreseeable future, how do you think that's going to affect your guys' year and your ability to go and attend Jamboree?
So pretty early on, I'd say May timeframe, the iGEM Foundation decided to move the Jamboree to all virtual. So to make it more of an interactive experience, they've added in several other virtual conferences. And normally at the Jamboree, there'll be 6,000 students from all over the world and their professors and companies coming in to Boston for a few days. What they're planning in November is over a 2-week period and splitting it up. So the first weekend will be the actual competition where students will be posting videos of their projects, being judged in poster sessions. Judges will be looking at the wikis. And then during the week, there'll be some interactive workshop sessions, some collaborative online problem solving, that kind of thing. And then the second weekend will be the sort of the weekend long celebration. So calling out and celebrating all the good work that these teams from all over the world have been doing.
Well, I'm wishing you guys the best of luck for the rest of this year working on your project and hoping that it ends up to be successful. And for Jamboree, I hope that you guys are able to place and win some awards. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and letting us know what's been going on with your team. We're all looking forward to your project and rooting for your success. And for those who are interested, where can the listeners learn more or keep up with your project?
Well, thank you so much for having us on, Claire. Pretty soon we're going to have our wiki up, so we will, if you just search up Lambert iGEM 2020, you can probably follow our project and all the work we've done. It's still in the builds, but it's coming soon, so keep on the lookout for that.
And then if you're here in the building, you can always stop by my room, which is 2210, and ask about it. Of course, please socially distance in this time.
So guys, if you're interested, please go support them and show them some love. And if you're interested in keeping with us, you can check us out on LHS Real Time and also listen to more episodes on Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram, all under Lambert in Real Time. Thank you so much for listening. Stay safe and hook 'em!
Hook 'em.